Good evening, Professor and class. In this week's discussion video, we will utilize the research database JSTOR as we once again discuss the War of 1812. This time we will hone in on the Kentuckians who participated in the war and the famous Frenchtown Massacre that galvanized a nation and became a symbol to rally around. The Battle of Frenchtown and the Massacre of the River Raisin. Beginning our research into this period is a text entitled The War of 1812, Diary of William B. Northcutt by G Glenn Clift, which tells the story of a soldier and his experience during the participation of the war. A native of Virginia, this Kentuckian came to the Kentucky wilderness at the young age of 7 and decided to join the ranks of those men who participated in the War of 1812, as well as spending 3 months with General Winchester prior to his epic defeat at the Battle of Frenchtown. Most interestingly, he knew many of the men who were lost that day, including one man he describes as his early childhood school teacher. The best part about this text that I feel is that it actually has a list of the people that were lost in that massacre. As we focus more on the Battle of Frenchtown, also known as the River Raisin, we will look at A.C. QUISENBERRY's article entitled 100 Years Ago, the River Raisin. This article was published in the year 1913 and describes the battle that ensued between the Americans led by General Winchester and the British under Colonel Proctor. QUISENBERRY's method in writing this is such that he breaks down both battles that took place as well as the massacre that ensued after the surrender had been accepted. While all able-bodied men were marched to Malden, QUISENBERRY describes the gory fate of those left at Frenchtown. Last in our description of the battle is the aftermath as it is described in an 1837 edition of The Sun. In this newspaper, they recall the bloody massacre that had transpired that terrible day. They subsequently acknowledge the importance of the massacre as they cite the national battle cry being "Remember the Raisin," and its surging popularity among Americans from around the nation that began to swell the ranks of the militia countrywide to combat the British Empire. The importance of this article is to serve as very early evidence of how the nation felt about the battle only 2 decades after its conclusion. In closing, the Battle of Frenchtown and the massacre of the River Raisin served as a rallying cry to the entire early United States against the British. It is, in my opinion, one of the most important land battles fought during that era on U.S. soil. Lastly, these sources serve both as a history of the terrible event and as a means to glean into the lives of the U.S. soldiers who lived in it.